Assalamu alaikum all. I hope you are doing well. A very interesting day in the market today. And it's really why you should always keep your tap dancing shoes on when you are investing. Today, we saw a jump in the VIX on the heels of geopolitical tensions or enhanced tensions after Ukraine hit Russia with long range missiles that were authorized for use after Russia attacked a lot of Ukraine infrastructure. So Russia retaliated by saying that it's going to change, and in fact, it did change the rules for using nuclear weapons in a conflict and made them, at least as per the verbiage, more likely to be used. That being said, I think that at this point, Russia, the only way Putin can mess this up is if he escalates in a way that draws in more countries into the conflict. All he has to do right now is just wait for the Trump administration to come to power, because Trump has signaled very strongly that he was not going to aid Ukraine in the same way that his predecessor has been aiding Ukraine. And in fact, I don't really think Biden is really calling the shots here. It's really the generals that are calling the shot, and Biden is just authorizing everything that they say and do. And so, for that reason, I think Putin would be smarter not to escalate in response, and perhaps that's why the markets fared rather decently today. That being said, Putin does have a history of making some pretty dumb decisions, not not the least of which was his decision to invade Ukraine in the first place, and thinking that that would be a cakewalk. So we'll see what happens. So far, it does seem, as I mentioned, that the markets are digesting this news with a hint of optimism. The rally still goes on. If you look at the Dow Jones, it was down slightly, but the Nasdaq was up 0.71%, S&P was up 0.4%, and the Russell was up 0.74%. The VIX did spike close to 5%. The dollar index is basically flat today. I think one of the real concerns for the market, if you ask me, like top of mind concern for the market, would be the dollar index and the strength of the dollar. Now, if you listen to what is being proposed with regards to Doge, or the Department of Government Efficiency, and trying to balance our budget and um, narrow the deficits or eliminate them that the U.S. is incurring, if we are actually able to do this, then the treasuries, the United States treasuries, become more attractive, and that pulls some liquidity away from risk assets, or at least it provides a stronger competition, stiffer competition from treasuries for risk assets. And right now, treasuries are viewed with an eye of skepticism because of the inflation and anticipated inflation into the future that is driven very strongly by the deficits that we have, and the obvious need to print more money in order to fund those deficits. So if that goes away, perhaps we see a strengthening of the dollar, and therefore a tougher environment for risk assets on a appreciation by percentage basis, at least. Looking at some other commonly viewed stocks, Tesla is up 2.14%. Nvidia's up close to 5% ahead of its earnings. That's going to be a big deal tomorrow when it comes out. Bitcoin miners did pretty good today, and that's no wonder considering Bitcoin did hit 94,000 today. There is a lag. I know that many people ask, hey, Bitcoin's at 94,000. Why haven't Bitcoin miners in many cases previously reached all-time highs? There is somewhat of a lag between Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin, but they are positively correlated in that they move in the same direction eventually. And historically, the moves of Bitcoin miners have exaggerated the moves of Bitcoin. They've acted as sort of a leverage play on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin moves X, Bitcoin miners will move 2, 3, 4, 5X, depending on the miner. So I think that dynamic still holds. Lithium, I'll go into PLL. I know there's a lot of questions about PLL. I'll go into PLL and the merger, which, the too long didn't read take on it is that this is a positive. And you've already seen this as a positive in both the price action of PLL, which was halted today, but also the price action of other lithium miners. So this was good news for the industry, and I think the merger of Piedmont and Sayona will create a very powerful company. I'm still awaiting some more details in order to make a more informed decision about what we do with our PLL shares. Now, moving down the list here, if you look at gold, it was up slightly, so that kind of tells you that the market is actually it's flat. It's 0.01%. So let's call that flat. So the market is not really in a risk-off mode if you consider gold to be a risk-off asset, and historically it has been. Bitcoin is up 1.44% as of recording this, 91,800. Doge is under 40 cents. It eclipsed 40 today. Sol is at 235, and I just wanted to show you a couple charts here. This is Sol. This is Sol BTC. And if you look at, since the beginning of the year, Sol versus BTC, Sol has outpaced BTC in terms of a return, so 15%. If you look at since the beginning of the year versus Ethereum, Sol has outran Ethereum by more than 100%. So I'm showing you these charts to emphasize the point that even though we're bullish on Bitcoin, it does make sense in the environment that we are in to look at other assets. And that's why we have money in other assets in the crypto space. Not because, we're not bullish on Bitcoin, but maybe we think that in a specified period of times, other assets may run more than Bitcoin. And that's why we don't do the, just buy Bitcoin and be done with it, is because we're a bit more ambitious than that. Even though if you buy it depends on your goals. If you buy Bitcoin and you're done with it, you'll do extremely well. Michael Saylor in a recent interview said every Bitcoin you don't buy is eventually going to be $13 million. And I don't think that that's necessarily. I think his timeline was between 2040 and 2050. It will be $13 million. I don't think that that's necessarily out of the question. In fact, I think that Bitcoin will continue to go up so long as the network operates. It'll be eventually the most valuable asset on Earth. It will continue to climb that ranking that we often show you, and as it has been, and eventually it's going to eclipse gold as the most valuable asset on Earth. So in the details to some of what I just said, Russia confirms Ukraine has attacked it using U.S. long-range missiles, signals nuclear response is being prepared. This is actually a really bad way of writing this headline. It's obviously sensational, but what they actually did was they changed the rules of engagement with regards to their nuclear weapons. As it relates to crypto generally, continue to keep an eye out on the most popular themes. Right now, meme coins continues to hold the #1 spot in terms of most popular themes in the crypto space, with a 92% gain in the last month, followed by store of value, and obviously, Bitcoin being at the top of that list in terms of categories for gain, and then followed by Gen 1 smart contract platforms. So those are really the so real world assets. After that, smart contract platforms after that. So those are the most popular categories for crypto. As far as I can tell, meme coins and store of value are just confirmations for what I've been saying related to the actual utility of cryptocurrencies, basically as a store of value and as a means of exchange. I think this proves that what I'm saying, my understanding of crypto is actually pretty accurate. Now, speaking of tailwinds for Bitcoin, and yesterday I mentioned different companies that were, and basically every day we're getting news of a different company using Bitcoin as or declaring a Bitcoin as a future treasury asset and making the moves to onboard Bitcoin onto their balance sheet. And now we're at a point where even countries are starting to make announcements in this regard. So, presidential candidate in Poland has pledged to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And we know that Trump, the president-elect here in the United States, has pledged to do the same. And so perhaps we see amongst countries the same dynamic we're seeing play out amongst companies, wherein everyone is vying to create their own Bitcoin strategic reserve, as some retail investors have been doing for years now. And that is creating personal Bitcoin reserves to preserve their purchasing power. So this comes from the candidate ranked third in Poland's presidential race, according to recent polls. He mentioned, if I become the president of Poland, our country will become a cryptocurrency haven with very friendly regulations, low taxes, and a supportive approach from banks and regulators. And he mentioned that Poland should create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, as it relates to the United States, right now, as per Kalshi at least, the betting market that is Kalshi, the probability for a Bitcoin reserve is at 56%, which means that 44% of the probability is not priced in to the price of Bitcoin right now. Now, another interesting news that I thought sort of drives home the idea that you should always be on your toes as it relates to investing and not be too caught up in whatever thesis you have for a position. H&R Block and Intuit stock today took it on the chin after a report that Trump government efficiency team, DOGE, is considering a tax filing app. So the stock prices of H&R Block and Intuit fell after a report said Trump's government efficiency team is considering creating a free tax filing app, which would be amazing. It would be amazing if the government would just tell its citizens how much they owe in tax. That would be so awesome. I can tell you, one of the most stressful exercises as an American is creating or filing taxes and paying them, because they don't tell you how much you owe. So you have to figure that out on your own. And streamlining that process would, I think, lower stress levels nationwide, increase happiness, all that good stuff. Intuit, which makes the TurboTax filing software, closed down 5%. H&R Block closed down 8%. A tax filing app created by Trump's planned Department of Government Efficiency would be a competitor to both H&R Block and TurboTax. So that's your daily roundup of the most important news. Let's go to. Oh, by the way, I forgot to create the promotion. The promotion is still going on. You can see it in the description of this video. 35% off premium and elite memberships for a limited time, a limited number of uses for this coupon. And with the membership, you get access to my trades, move for move, as well as other privileged content, including deep dives into different assets that we're interested in, and a watch list that has buy below and sell above prices that people can use for inspiration when they are investing. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Nice to see you all. Nice to see nice to see all these familiar names. Himi, dear, cool, Wilson. Salam, brother. What's one or two sectors you're most bullish on for 2025? Well, I think that we are in the early stages of the artificial intelligence play, but you want to avoid investing in the sort of first derivative benefactors and think what are the second and third and fourth derivative benefactors, because those plays will be the least crowded and have the most upside to them. And I also think in the nearer term, obviously, things like Bitcoin and leverage plays on Bitcoin are going to perform very well. Tesla will break out, but it probably will not go parabolic in 2025. Maybe end of 2025 or second half of 25 is when it goes parabolic, but it will go parabolic, and it will go parabolic for a while. So those are some of my thoughts. Hamid says, talk about PLL. I will, inshallah, as I did mention it, but the very succinct take is that it is bullish, I think. Salam Rashad, nice to see you. Salam Ali. Salam Niznaz. Salam Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. The long-term price of Solana 10x or more in the next 20 years. I've seen, wa alaikum salam, Dr. Boss. I've seen a lot of price targets for Solana that are 10x and more, but honestly, I don't really get it. I think it's overvalued as it is as an asset. It's getting a lot of use, but if I'm valuing an asset like I value any asset, which is based on the cash flows that it generates, I think it's overvalued. Any equity that generates the same type of cash flows would be considered to be overvalued. But I think there is some merit into reading the room, so to speak. And when you read the room in terms of the crypto market, Solana presents itself as an attractive play for the near term. Ahsan says, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam, Ahsan. Oh, that's awesome, Chocolate. So Chocolate says, Assalamu alaikum. Finally found a job in tech after being laid off. Congratulations. One of the first things I did after giving Sadaqah, signed up for PIF membership. Well, that's amazing. First off, it's amazing that, the first thing you did was give Sadaqah. And that means, inshallah, that there will be a lot of barakah in your wealth, and we like people, inshallah, that have a lot of barakah and are good people to join our community. So it's awesome that you joined. I'm happy to have you, Chocolate. Wa yakum, inshallah. Dr. Boss says, will Tesla appreciation, the share price 5,000 plus, happen within the next 10 years? Yeah, I think so. Again, I should caveat everything I say with this is not financial advice, only my assessment. I think SMCI is worth a look. I do think Doge can touch $1 this bull run. Hey, Mohammed, nice to see you. Alaikum salam. Jazakallah so much so far for these. Enjoying the lives. New to this. May the Almighty bless you with barakah. Well, thanks so much, Muhammad, and to you as well. I don't think that we're going to have another recession, Rashad. Certainly, I haven't seen economic data that makes a compelling argument that that is in fact the case. It remains a possibility, but I think it's a more of a remote possibility than a likely one. It's an interesting question. How do you think the manufacturing companies or builder companies that rely on immigrants will do in a Trump presidency? So I think that this, may be a challenge as it relates to inflation. So if we are to get rid of, a lot of illegal immigrants that work. By the way, something to mention about illegal immigration, and I think that people should immigrate legally. That people should not break the law. But one of the benefits of illegal immigration, from just a purely economic standpoint, is that obviously they provide cheap labor, and so that helps bring down prices. But also, in many cases, although this has been circumvented in some weird banana land places like California, but in many places, because they are illegal immigrants, they don't get any benefits of someone who came here illegally. So they cost a lot less in terms of just from a purely economic standpoint, because they're not privy to any benefits. But also they help bring down inflation. So there was an economic value to illegal immigrants, but I do believe that there's also downsides. So when you have illegal immigrants, you don't know their backgrounds. Some of them may be criminals. Some of them may be bad people. So I think that having an organized way of immigrants entering the country is obviously the way to go, but I think that process should be streamlined and should be easier to do. And we should focus on letting the deserving people enter and keeping out as much as possible bad people with criminal histories, people involved in trafficking, the drug trade, etc. But yeah, so there will be economic consequences to clamping down on illegal immigration. Make no mistake about that. Yeah, I'm gonna. So that was, one of the things that I was taking a deep look into today was Sphere 3D and Moss, and so inshallah I'll have an update on that. If you want to follow my portfolios move for move, then make sure to become a PIF member if you aren't already, for a limited time, 35% off all memberships. Leave a like if you enjoyed this live, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live next. Till next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you all.